There are stars up above. So far away we only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with the people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the star that lights up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways that we remember. When I turn to Psalm 121, I'll do the first and last lines in English. A song for ascents. I turn my eyes to the mountain, from where will my help come? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. Esainai el harim, me'ayin, me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'em Adonai, Ose shamayim, shamayim, ve'aretz. Al yitein lamod raglecha, al yanum shomrecha. Hine lo yanum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomerecha. Adonai tilchad yad yaminecha. Yomam shemesh lokecha. Ve'yareach baleya. Adonai yishmarcha mikol ra, yishmor et nafshecha. Adonai yishmar teitecha uvoecha. Meyata, meyata, meyata v'yad olam. Adonai will guard you from all harm. God will guard your life. Adonai will guard your going and coming, now and forever. Shalom, my name is Rabbi Alan Finkel, and I'm honored to lead this service on behalf of the Matas family as we honor the passing of Manuel, or Manny Matas, the son of Harry and Esther Matas nie Steinman, Menashe ben Yerucham Esther, who left us this past Sunday morning, October 30th, 2022, which we will mark on the Hebrew calendar as the 5th day of Cheshvan, 5783, at the age of 77, peacefully, after a long and ferocious battle with cancer. Manny was predeceased by his parents and is survived by his brothers David and Robert's wife Alicia. And he leaves behind his two daughters, Anna Matas and her partner David McClary, and Sylvia Matas and her husband Mike Brown, as well as his truly beloved grandchildren Esther May and Asher and Noah, and many cousins and his extended family. And Manny leaves behind so many friends, colleagues, and patients from his professional life, writers and friends from his life as an author, as well as fellow artists and photographers from his creative life. So many of you are gathered this morning here in Winnipeg and online, both to mourn his loss and to celebrate the gifts that Manny brought into our lives by his very presence. This is the time, as we help complete Manny's physical journey in this world, for us to start to share the story of his life, and for us to all tell our stories about him, so that we all come to appreciate that Manny has not only left a mark on all who knew him, but how he in turn has made a mark in the world. And today here at Graveside, we will start with the stories of those closest to Manny. I want to express my appreciation for the time offered to me yesterday by Manny's daughters, Anna and Sylvia, and his cousin Carol. So close to Manny that they refer to each other as sister-brother, and the wonderful stories they shared with me about the incredible values he lived his life by, the values he instilled in his children, His profound connection and pride in his Judaism and his love of his pre-retirement career as a psychiatrist, and starting at 65, his post-retirement career as an author, an artist, a photographer, and most especially as a Zeta, a grandfather. I would like to thank David and Robert and other family members for their thoughtful and loving contributions as well. And on behalf of the family, I'd like to pass on their appreciation for the flood of emails that you have sent to them and them to me, and the memories you shared. And I encourage you to reach out to the family and to each other in the days ahead to share your stories and to listen to theirs as well. As I met with Sylvia, Anne, and Carol, it was immediately obvious that I was surrounded by peace and love and tears and disbelief, but also a sense of resignation that Manny's journey here on earth had come to a peaceful end. Manny had struggled with cancer twice in his life, the first starting in his 50s, when he was first diagnosed with a difficult leukemia that was finally treated successfully at age 65 with a stem cell transplant. It would be that treatment that would trigger his first retirement and many good years, in fact, incredible years as he reinvented himself. But just a few months ago, some abdominal discomfort would be diagnosed as a different stage 4 cancer, leading to his hospitalization 2 months ago. Incredibly positive to the end, he had no doubt that he had quite a bit of time left. On Saturday evening, he told his daughter Sylvia he felt great. And on Sunday morning, he told a nurse the same thing. But 30 minutes later, quietly, he left and in peace. Manny lived an extraordinary life. He was the middle of 3 sons, born to Harry, a physician, and Esther, surrounded by David the elder and Robert the younger. And he grew up in a wonderful extended family as well. Manny's father was one of 6 siblings, and 3 of them lived within a 4-block radius of his family. So there was tons of cousins nearby, with Carol recalling people gathering at Manny's mom's place every Sunday for deli, a huge family that always found ways to see each other every week. Manny grew up in a tight-knit family, and he would later carry these traditions forward into his own family. Robert, the youngest of the 3 boys, describes the joy of sharing a room with Manny starting when he was 10, and how they became extremely close. Manny had an easel, not a surprise, in the corner for his pastel sketches, and there were hours spent playing ping pong in the basement and singing top 20 pop hit tunes. And Manny loved sharing a room with Robert. He asked for his brother's opinions, and Manny listened to what he had to say. And Robert also described a couple of near-death experiences that Manny had had as a child, which we'd find out later, profoundly influence his life later on. Education was a passion within the family, and as David the eldest describes his brother as precocious and prolific. Manny was certainly precocious, skipping a grade in elementary school, going straight into medicine out of high school, to become a physician at age 21, and the youngest psychiatrist in Canada at age 23. He practiced for 42 years, working primarily in university, teaching hospitals in Toronto and in Winnipeg, and for the Scarborough Board of Education. He was the medical director of adult outpatient psychiatry at the St. Boniface Hospital for many years, and as well as their acting head of Department of Psychiatry in the same hospital. His subspecialty was ADHD in adults. And Manny was as well a teacher, associate professor in the Department of Psychiatry and the Faculty of Medicine here at the University of Manitoba. He published many articles in peer-reviewed journals, was a frequent presenter at national psychiatric conferences where he made many friends. After working at St. Boniface Hospital for 20 years, he went into private practice until health issues had Manny shift almost seamlessly into a new set of interests. I asked Carol, his cousin, about Manny as a young man. And she notes that when she came back from England, Manny had a house in Toronto, and she lodged there for a while. Soon enough, as they continued to share what was going on with their lives, they became best friends. The stories never stopped. with particularly a mutual interest in politics, especially American politics, and texts flying back and forth. And I can only imagine what they'd been like over the last weeks and months. And they had a shared interest as well in the spiritual and in the paranormal, way before that book, was written. That book, of course, was The Borders of Normal. A clinical psychiatrist destigmatizes paranormal phenomena, which became a #1 bestseller in 2 categories. Manny's book was listed as a Whistler Independent Book Awards finalist, and he was incredibly proud of that nomination and was delighted to attend the award ceremonies. The book itself received rave reviews, and it delves into many different aspects of the paranormal, including dreams that come true, telepathy, ESP, visions, premonitions, and near-death experiences. And Manny was proud to write this book, especially as a science-based clinical psychiatrist, and to examine the paraphenomena, which he stated are in fact the normal parts and the normal aspects of being human. Carol joked, saying that if Manny were to ask her to say one thing today on his behalf, it would be that Manny would like you all to go out and buy his book. And both Sylvia and Anna laughed and said, yeah, he would say that. And I should mention that after we met yesterday, I did go on Amazon, and I bought one of the 2 remaining copies in Winnipeg, and to Carol and the other authors, I'll apologize for not buying local. It's coming on Saturday. So much as psychiatry had been his early passion, his book came to him easily in his retirement, and he absolutely loved promoting it, with interviews around the world, often at 2 in the morning. And the world would come to really appreciate how profoundly spiritual Manny was, as he shared his personal experiences with the spiritual world, his research and his writings, and in his personal explorations of the world of Jewish mysticism, of Kabbalah. Manny shared this world and this passion quietly with Carol, and then the world. And of course he talked endlessly about his family, the good days and the tough ones. And especially he talked about his daughters. And so I asked Anna and Sylvia for their side of the family stories of having Manny as their dad. And their stories ran together in so many respects. As young children, Manny was really funny. He played with them a lot, silly games, balancing him in the air on his feet while lying on his back, singing silly songs or a whole song in one breath. And they were playful with their dad as well. There's a period when they described he had this really big mustache, and they agreed it was a big hippie mustache. And one day he came home without it. He'd shaved it off. And the 2 girls pretended they didn't know who he was. And he happily played along with them for the longest time. And he was attentive and thoughtful about their needs. When they did trips out east to their mother's family in Ontario, he would pack 1,000 suitcases to make it work for them. He was always patient and kind, and he would always read to his kids. And would also strive to get Anna and Sylvia engaged in the bigger world. He would take them to the Manitoba legislature for the annual Peace March, or to events organized by Physicians Against Nuclear Weapons and other activist causes. He wanted to show that this is important, that individuals gathering together can speak up and they can change the world. And they spoke of other values that their dad lived by. He was a really positive person, always saw the bright side of things. He was very thoughtful and adaptable. He didn't stick to one idea of what life should be. And as a dad, he didn't act in the traditional parent way. He was always prepared to talk through any problem with you, but he didn't boss you into what you should be doing. And they commented in a very positive way that he was very much bringing in his psychiatric skills into their home, a true parental gift. Their dad understood that they were their own people, that he could guide but not shape. Anna notes that neither of us have a Jewish partner. He loves David, looks at the person, not the outside, doesn't let those things bother him. He simply saw an excellent human. And he easily embraced our partners simply because we picked them. David, in turn, had lovely things to say about Pops, his father-in-law. Quiet, affable, and enthusiastic, and interested in the world around him. Some new thing he had read or a documentary he'd seen, his love of politics, and especially on visits, sitting by the fireplace with a good scotch and talking for hours about all manners of things. And then there was the shared love of cars, to the surprise of his daughter Anna. And David brought forward the words of their 3-year-old daughter, who described Manny as a kind, special, and gentle man and a nice Zeta. And Carol says that Manny's stories always showed how he was completely devoted to his family, his 2 girls and the grandchildren. Sylvia's newest exhibits, the cutest things that Anna would say. And Manny understood boundaries. He never knew about when the grandchildren were coming. But the second he found out, he was in a whole other world. Anna recounts how when they were first pregnant with Esther May and told everyone, Manny was so excited that he called back 3 times. And he was no less excited about the other grandchildren when their pregnancies were announced as well. And his love would show up not just in words but in actions. As a Zeta, he had learned well from his mother Esther, who was an outstanding grandparent, and he took a lot of cues from her, intensely curious and interested in his grandchildren. Manny and Esther May both loved drawing, and they would share pictures and talk about them with each other. When Asher got into Pokemon, so did he. And when Noah, at 3 years old, showed up as a ferocious talker, Manny spoke with her as an equal. Manny was not judgmental and was always accepting of people. He was open to new ideas, and this became especially important when he was forced to step back from his psychiatric practice. He did a lot of art, especially after he retired, portrait, drawings in particular, using a number of media that were exhibited, and the same for photography. He easily found the time for his book and presentations and the new communities he found in every one of those pursuits. And he had speaking engagements all across Winnipeg and across Canada, and he had the remarkable opportunity to meet Tori, the fine young man in the U.S. Navy who was flown back from a ship in the Persian Gulf to donate the stem cells that had saved Manny's life 12 years ago. And Tori, it turns out, somehow had family connections in Winnipeg. He lived in strange times. I don't think Manny would think that to be a coincidence at all. And even towards the end, Manny was in the midst of writing yet another book until he couldn't. Manny found ways to live his life fully. Retirement wasn't his first choice, but he inspired so many people around him by how he reshaped his life, with friends often commenting, "When I retire, I want to do it like Manny." And this is only the beginning of who Manny was. He was involved in so many different communities over the course of his life, and in so many walks of life, and he had friends everywhere, and reflected again in the streams of emails coming back now into the family. And with all that, there was perhaps one more book that Manny wished he could write, and that involved his letters to the Globe and Mail that he wrote as a hobby. David did describe his brother as prolific, and they must have loved him in Toronto, as he had 200 of his letters published in that venerable newspaper, everyone signed, Manny Matas, Winnipeg. He even imagined a title for that book called Dear Sir. And it turns out that his last letter to the Globe and Mail was published on the day he first got sick. We are gathered here for a Jewish funeral, and it was clear that Manny was very knowledgeable and very connected to his Judaism. He had a sense of observance around him all his life. First at the Herzliya and its Orthodox framing, but it was his open-mindedness that sent him on his Jewish journey and into Temple Shalom. He had 2 young daughters, and he was attracted to a Judaism that was modern and egalitarian, and he passed that on to his children, with bat mitzvahs celebrated in the open and inclusive community of Temple Shalom. But even more, Manny always valued the importance of Jewish ritual. Before the pandemic and Zoom, Sylvia and her family would have Shabbat dinners at Manny's with his parents, and the same would happen on Manny's 3 or 4 visits a year to Toronto. Shabbat dinners with Anna and her family, and with the pandemic, Manny would Zoom into family Shabbat dinners, and every week there would be blessings with Zeta. I talked earlier about how every person makes a mark in the world in so many ways, some easy and some more challenging, but Manny's mark will be special. Yesterday I witnessed Carol's quiet remarks to Anna and Sylvia about their dad. And I would like to share them with you, because I suspect they will resonate with all of us. Carol said to them, "I can't imagine the world without him. I can't quite see what that will look like." And she continued, "I was close to my dad, and I know the two of you are the same with your dad. There is a lot of pain now, but there will be a time to remember all those good things about your dad and to model that to your own family. Not everyone has that. You can become that person. We can't be him, but we can try." And my final words. Manny chose to live his life with intention, to live in the beautiful Jewish ideal as an Ish Yashar, a man walking a straight and good path. He was profoundly ethical and values-driven. He knew and understood the great gifts that had been given to him from his own family and from his Jewish roots, the opportunities to live a wonderful life, and he committed fully to that life and to all of you gathered here. And I'll add one observation from my very limited Yiddish vocabulary. Manny was a Gita Neshama, a good spirit, who will continue his journey, I am sure, through the gates from this physical world into the spiritual world that he knows awaits him. May his name always be for a good memory. Can you hear that, son? May it be God's will. I'll take a moment to describe what will happen after the service. There will be a meal of consolation at 255 Wellington Crescent on the main floor. And Shiva will also be held at the same location on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday from 5 to 7 at that same address, 275 Wellington Crescent. Jewish custom encourages us to give donations, charitable donations when somebody passes, and the idea is that it actually elevates them in God Adam towards the divine. If you are interested in making a donation in Manny's honor, the family has suggested that you consider 3 charities that were important to him. Tree Canada, the World Wildlife Fund, and the Winnipeg Art Gallery. We will now conclude this part of the service with the El Malei Rachamim, which we will do both in Hebrew and in English, and then the Mourner's Kaddish. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamatzei Menucha Nechonam, Tacha Kanfei Ashchina, Im Kedoshim Hu Tohorim, Kizahar, Harekei Hamazirin, Et Nishmat Menashe Ben Yerucham Ve'Ester, Shalach Leholamo, Mal HaRachamim, Yastirehu B'Seter B'Chanafav Le'olamim, V'Yitzror Chayim Et Nishmato, Adonai Hu Nachalato, V'Yanuch B'Shalom Al Kol Mishkavo, V'Nomar Amen. May the source of life, the fountain of all being, open our hearts to compassion and our eyes to wisdom, that we might glimpse in perfect peace and sadness the way of all things. May Manny Matas' memory be for us a blessing, and may we never let the light of his love grow dim in our hearts. May we remember all his worthy and righteous deeds, that his memory be forever bound up in the good of life and in the bond of life. God is our source and our destination, our beginning and our end. May Manny's death awaken us to this truth, that the bond of love we shared and share not be severed in sorrow. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. Do you have the Mourner's Kaddish cards to pass out, Anna? I'll ask family members to pick up a card from Anna, please. We moved now to the Mourner's Kaddish, which is a traditional prayer that's said for somebody who passes. I was telling the family yesterday, it doesn't contain any words at all about mourning and passing, but it actually is a prayer that actually talks about the increasing greatness we see in the Holy One, in the Eternal, in the Source. The idea is we say it over the course of the year. It gives us an opportunity to have conversations with the person who passed away. Sometimes love, sometimes anger, sometimes forgiveness, but it's a way of us moving forward and kind of keeping the person towards us. The last time we say the prayer, after saying it daily, is at 11 months. We're expected over time to grieve heavily, less and less, and to finally let Manny go into his journey as we go on our journeys in our physical world as well. I'm going to ask you as follows. The prayer itself is written in Hebrew and Aramaic. It's not particularly understandable. There are cards that the Mourners family have. I encourage everybody to join. Our custom in the reform movement, at least, is that everybody's lost people. So we can all step in to do that prayer. If you don't know the prayer, what I'll do as I approach the word Amen is raise my hand so that you can join me with the word Amen. Jewish tradition says that simply saying Amen incorporates as if you've said the whole prayer. So feel free to add your voice, at least at that particular time. So sanctifying the name of God, we honor the memory of Manuel Matas with the words of Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish. Together. Yitkadal, V'yitkadash, Shemei Rabah, V'yalma Divrach Hirute, V'yamlich Malchute, B'chayechon, U'v'yamechon, U'v'chaye D'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala U'vizman Kariv V'imru. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabah Mevorach Le'alam Le'almei Almaya. Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shmei D'Kudisha Brichu Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata Da'amiran B'yalma V'imru. Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabah Min Shemaya V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. The last lines in English. May there be abundant peace from heaven and life for us and Israel, to which we say, Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we again say, Amen. Move now to the final act. On the Kamo Yavo B'Shalom, may Manny Matas come to his eternal home in peace. In Jewish tradition, to shovel dirt into the grave is a mitzvah. It is a righteous act that we do without any hope of reward. With this act, we take on the responsibility of caring for our loved ones until the very end. Our loved ones deserve to be buried by kind hands, knowing hands, sorrowful hands. And so you're invited to participate in this mitzvah, a painful act. However, one born of love and compassion for those who have meant so much to us. Adonai Natan v'Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach. With the job we have said, God you have given, God you have taken away, blessed be the name of God. May the memory of Manny Matas be a blessing as we mark that his essence will never leave our hearts and our souls. We have a lot of Jewish traditions on how we complete the burial. Some people choose to do 3 shovels full, some 1. Some people to use the back of the shovel, sometimes a shovel forward. And I'll ask the family to start and to choose the way that they prefer to do it. There's one thing I will ask of you. It's a custom that I've kind of grown to appreciate over time. And that's that when you're finished your shoveling, put the shovel back into the pile of dirt. To take the shovel for someone else makes it an obligation to take on that task, the loving task. To put the shovel down, when you walk over to pick it up yourself, it's an act of love. So I'll ask the family to start and encourage you all to take your turns and take your time. And may you all go in peace. There are several shovels. Feel free to pull the other ones out too.
I got that clay all over my shoes. It's always clay at this one. It's always clay. Cold. tradition is to keep going until you get to so it helps lots of people.
Houses going like way back.
I went to the grocery store.
Yeah, that's right.
Before the whole
So committed to
the whole other. Although I evoked that the other day when we went for a walk. I remember I said, I was sitting there, I remember this one place. Of all the people.
Yeah.
Hey, David, how are you? No, but see you again. You remember Eric and Sean? We were at work for trick-or-treating or something. Did you do anything for Halloween last night? And his partner David, it's my mom.
Yeah. Some of the bad blood in my background just reasserted.
Yeah, right. I heard
So I
that.
come by the last name of Cleary on it. We're mixed from Jamaica, McCleary. So my great grandfather was Irish, fresh off the boat.
Okay.
Genetics. That's genetics, right?
You remember from Eric, right?
I do. I know you guys are so big. Look at the three of you. Okay, my dear.
You saw who you got to see?
Yeah, I said my goodbye.
Did you guys do anything Halloween last night or no?
Mike brought by a little treat bags. It was appropriate because usually Granny would be there for after his birthday and then stay for Halloween. And so we were at his house for Halloween and pretty quiet. We got here on a red-eye flight. We left at like 4 o'clock in the morning on Ontario side.
Really wasn't expecting.
No. He was like part of the news was on the net, right? In good spirits. He was very but you know, the nurse said that he passed my boys and like they went to check on him, like thumbs up and then not. Minutes later. I think he was just ready. So called us on Friday. He called us on Friday. We talked for a long time. And then he called me for his birthday as well. Last week he was 26. We texted him on Saturday. Very efficient.
Very fast.
Take care of the business up front. It was all the other ones. All right then. Here we go.
Very often, from other states, I admire the system. Why are you waiting a week to have the funeral? I don't think I can do that, but I just feel the person so I think where she is.
I know, I kind of got it all over now. I gotta go home with a stick. Might as well scrape. Yeah.
So if you're not going to the...
No, I'm gonna go jump back into meetings and whatever other stuff we gotta get done. Yeah. Did you get a call with my sister organized, or she's, yeah?
Yeah. So we're determining a time on sometime on the 7th.
Okay.
I've actually got a meeting with head of restorative dentistry that day. It was supposed to be earlier, but I just got a positive test, so isolated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talked to Sean about your
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
No.
So sorry,
We have dinner.
spoilers.
Dinner coming up. Yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Epic
Good,
journey.
good to beat your board back into submission.
Yeah, right. Or just I'm happy with either.
That's negotiation.
Just a continuation of politics by other means.
That's right. Well, there could be only one, right? So that
Snow leopards.
No.
So, okay. Looks like my ride's ready to go.
Okay, for
All
sure.
right,
We'll
see
talk
you.
soon. Okay.
All right, see you guys. All right, take care. All right.
7:40.
Someone said that before, like,
David and I have been good friends for a long time. Yeah, until the kids started so much more just and that became an
oh no, that's exactly it. I'm like, you know, I'm really those things are, you can be in the I know, but it's wonderful and weird.
Yeah, we're here to negotiate the best. Yeah, we're here to we just talked about shit. Like as we're done, we're in the party. We're gonna be in the party room sitting around. Oh, nice.
So we're gonna come by.
I would love to. Hey, how are you? This is Jake McKay, is an old family friend. These are my friends Sean and Eric. Were you in Winnipeg? Goodbye. Thank you both for coming.
And then I'm just trying to find some.
My left guy went to use a real